Hey Jay, what's up?
Not much, man. Yourself?
Doing all right. Long time no talk.
Yeah, you bet. So I got about 5 slides in my deal. I think it kind of drives the point across. So are we going to be able to share them, or are we just going to do an open chat?
I think share's good. I just finished having a chat with Ashley to set her up for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And what I said to her is that early on for this, and I mean you've got more experience. Some people are more experienced, less experienced. This first
Yeah.
batch, I didn't want it to be too formal.
Okay.
And after this, I mean, I have an entire event presentation format. I mean, Ali and I have been working on this shit for, a year and a half, right? But I got an
Okay.
entire and given time, we're going to start doing that and talk about, uniform backgrounds, presentation style, etc. Even look at some language choices in that. For now, if you've got it, and I know everybody else was looking to put it together, let's do it. Anything from a visual perspective is helpful to teach and learn.
Okay.
So if you got 5 slides, rock it, buddy. All yours.
I just show them to you real quick to make sure they come across fine.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So this is basically it. Done.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll just let you kind of drive how we're going to share the screen and go from there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool. How many people are attending today?
One moment. As of 10 minutes ago, I've got 13 registered.
Right on.
So we're getting a good turn right away, which is nice to see. We've got somebody literally on the 5 Tech Tools page right now.
Very cool. So in terms of the 5 tech tools, do you have a couple you're pitching in? Like there's 3 of us. How are we getting to that number 5?
I thought we'd divvied that up already.
No, I don't believe we did. So I think Shane has 2. I have 1. I guess mine could be broken into 2, cybersecurity and breach prevention platform. So I theoretically have 2. And I know that Trevor was going to just do an overview of why choose an MSP.
And that was, I believe, one moment, please. I thought we'd finalized the notes on that. That is my failure.
Well, we'll pull the Bill O'Reilly and just F it. We'll do it live, right?
What 2 topics do you have again? Or what do you have that's a 1/2?
Yeah, I had cybersecurity training, and then it bleeds into my breach prevention platform where we actually do like the testing. So I've got 2 that I can offer in the same kind of stream. And if we got to dial back to 1, I'll just do the training, no problem.
Okay, so we've got cybersecurity, and then that segues into breach training. We got password managers and MFAs, and we got MSP. There's our 5 topics.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. Who do we have coming in? Let me see who we got. About half is our tribe and half is outsiders.
Even mix. It's all right.
So that's okay. I mean, Trevor registered 3 tickets. Shane registered 1. We got Stacy and Ben.
Is there Zach from Eden on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Okay, cool. So we should have a nice little mix. Yeah, should turn out good.
So the format of how you do this, do you do a Q&A at the end, or is it just typically round table and then we end it kind of deal?
We'll go round table, and I mean we're on about 7 to 10 minutes a topic. I mean, as we discussed earlier, having about 10 minutes a pop, if you will. I like it like that, a little more directed, so we've got a lead off of it. Everybody else can offer their 2 cents worth. I'm good with people asking in line, not saving it to the end. We tend to lose something like this. It's to educate and teach first and foremost, and that way when people ask whatever weird question is going to crop up, if they do, you guys look like the experts simply because you're answering as subject matter experts during in line. But I'd like to preserve a little bit, so I'll take a few minutes to introduce everybody, and then I'll get you guys to do a little more of that damage yourself. I'll talk about the 5 basic topics, and then we'll dive right in. What order do you have a preference for?
I think that if Shane could go first, because he's talking about a password manager and MFA, and it seems to be more of the technical aspect of things, or I can go first too. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand, so it really doesn't matter. Whatever you decide, Mitch, like either way, I'm good. If Shane wants to go first, fine. If not, I'm happy to lead the pack.
Scrolling through my notes here to make sure I haven't missed anything in our chat.
You'll moderate it though, so if we do get a question, you'll announce it. Okay, great.
So Shane said not to be that guy, but my topic is not a lead-in, but rather a segue from cybersecurity. So it should likely follow you. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah, and then Trevor's coming in last, so that's good.
Okay, well, I'm just going to mute my video and go make myself a quick coffee. I'll be right back.
You got it, brother. See you in a minute.
All right.
Up my PowerPoint too?
Yeah. Bottom center menu, you should just see screen share.
Yeah.
And that feature's open to anybody. And we can boot
I'd like to just give that a quick. I'd like to give that a quick test here so I can see what I'm. I only want to share window 2. Can I just do
Sorry, guys, am I early?
Hey, Ashley.
Ashley. Yeah, so I can share.
I'll go on mute for now.
Shane just hijacked it, Trevor.
Yeah, I can tell. I just wanted to make sure I was showing just the presentation.
Yeah, you try now. Go ahead.
Okay, so share and presentation. Are you guys just seeing the presentation now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Note too.
And should go full screen.
Yeah.
So you guys, are you seeing just the slide, or are you seeing my slide notes too?
Slide notes too.
Slide
hit
notes.
present. Get out of that and hit present, and it'll just show the slide. Unless you want to show your slide notes.
No, I'll just switch what I'm showing. I'll show the top screen instead when I go to share my screen. Okay. Share.
Thanks for reminding me, Ashley, to turn my phone off for sound.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah. I like your acoustic, by the way, JD.
Thank you. This is my electric,
Yes.
and this is my acoustic, and this is how I keep my sanity.
I lock myself away in my bedroom. That's how I keep mine.
My kids would find me there, so that's not an option.
Locked door. We're gonna need that too. That doesn't kick in. Go. Let's see about the altitude of this again. Oh, getting too much white light above me. Yeah. Mother of awesome. Yeah, cool.
Alan, good day, sir.
Hello, Mitch. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing, my friend?
Slow.
Imagine so.
I had a few lucks last week, but nothing major.
That'll start to change right away.
How do you say right away?
The amount of bid quote work going out, commercial industrial is increasing. I know you primarily do residential. And once people start going back to work in the next 3 or 4 weeks, people will begin doing those other things, or they've been sitting at home staring at the problems that they've had repeatedly in the face for 16 hours waking every day, that finally they're going to be sick of not dealing with them. And also it will have been long enough that the first wave, second wave in phase 1 for illness will take over, which means that chances are inviting somebody into your home to do some work is probably safe at this point, simply because if I don't have it and you haven't been sick, we're probably okay. And that's what math says, not psychology.
Well, I've been into a couple of houses where people have just come from overseas and stuff like that, been on their 2-week lockdown. I keep my distance and don't shake their hands and sterilize the business card before I give it to them.
All right, we'll have a few more people clicking in here shortly, but we'll get started. We're just hitting 2 o'clock now.
Yep.
So welcome everybody, Monday afternoon, and we are moving into once more Syndicate's presentation for business related and business level education. And this is 5 tech tools that every business will need, has need of, and is going to need moving forward. As our next guests come and join us, we will of course be looking to catch them up. And I've brought 3 exceptionally experienced experts in information technology, or IT for short. They're going to share some of the wisdom, theory, and what's going on in our marketplace right now, what stuff we need to be mindful of course, and then as everybody else comes in, we're going to break it into 3 different segments, our conversation today. The 5 developed topics that we're going through, each one is going to panel or chair that kind of conversation. We're going to get some input from the other 2 speakers as well. If you have questions, please feel free to ask them in line. In other words, as we're talking, do not hesitate to ask. You do not need to wait to the end. And then when we do get to the end, we're going to do a short Q&A. If you're looking to communicate with the speakers as well, you're going to get a shot to do that then. And our topics are going to range from cybersecurity, breach detection, breach containment, password managers, MFAs, and MSPs. Then, of course, we'll go into the Q of A. So with us today is Jay Netter, Trevor Banu, and Shane Carter. And I know all of them severally and equally. Shane for the longest. Jay and Trevor, they both have reputations. Jay's company I've known about for several years as well. I'm going to get them to talk a little bit about themselves, and then we'll go right into our topics. Jay, you're up first. Tell us a little bit about you.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. My name's Jay Netter, and I'm one of the owners of RJ Systems. We're a technology solutions provider based here in Edmonton, Alberta, with about 130 clients between Alberta and BC. Our primary focus is on proactive IT solutions with specialties in cybersecurity, both training and breach detection. We work with a lot of small, medium businesses across those platforms. And really in this day and age, just happy to be part of this group of pretty talented people, being able to share our experiences in IT land. So look forward to it.
Trevor, you're up.
Hey guys, Trevor Banu here with Generation Electronics, managed service provider as well. And I can't really add much more than Jay there. Generation's been around for 20 years. We hope to be around for the next 20 as well. And I look forward to sharing what little bit I know with the rest of you.
Shane, you're up, brother.
Hey guys, Shane Carter with Portal IT, IT manager here. Much like the previous two gentlemen, we're a managed services provider in the IT sector, providing support for the small medium business sector, primarily in the accounting, insurance, and finance sectors. We're a startup. We just started back in December, so we're pretty excited to be out there and getting our name out there. So forward to these guys and having a good conversation.
All right, and to everybody that's starting to join us again here, Lynn, welcome as well. And we'll be looking for the rest of our guests to pop in as they show up. So IT, information technology and digital security. With the advent of COVID-19 and with the illness going rampant, we're spending a lot more time at home. We're also spending a lot more time with this guy. Right? We're spending an awful lot of time with a device in hand, our children, family members, spouses. We're spending a lot more time collectively inside of conversations much like this. Zoom, Skype, Google Hangouts, etc. All of these platforms provide our opportunity, first of all, to continue to communicate, do business, and share. And also the double-edged sword with anything to do technology-wise is that it is also a threat to our personal and our financial security. Because of that, we need to take certain precautions. We need to look at what it is that we do in a digital footprint in the digital world, what information we have available out there, and how we can protect ourselves. As recently as this past week, I've seen breaches both personally inside of my own family, as well as extended family and friends. We're spending more time again on the device, and that means more time where we're potentially subject to, or where we can become the victim of, the multiple number of scams, phishing exercises, or just flat out brain farts that we can have, which exposes us and exposes our personal, our financial, and our professional information to outsiders, to interference, to theft, and to damage. To protect against that, we have to take certain precautions. There are realities that we need to face as business owners. One, we need to take care of ourself, our financial health and welfare, and our monetary, in other words, the actual cash of our business. Two, businesses need to be able to sell and market effectively. Three, we need to be able to take care of our people. And four, if we trade in any information at all, whether it is client-based, our own business, etc., we need to be able to protect that information. These are the realities, and they are the must-haves for business. To do that, we need to leverage something that we neither have the time nor the opportunity for, and that's where professionals inside of IT and the panel that we have today can come in and share as well. If we do not protect it, we are at risk. The more precautions we take, the less likely we are to become a victim. Now, why I say less likely? When we talk physical security in the world, one of the first things that any security expert will suggest is, do you have working lights? Do you have motion detectors? Do you have an alarm system on your home? All of these are considered deterrents. They will not keep people from damaging your property, stealing it, or potentially invading your home. They will reduce the likelihood. They can point mathematically to the reduction in break-ins in neighborhoods and individual homes just by keeping your lights on at light, garage, back door, front door, etc. Having motion detecting lights, which is going to save power and time, but also alert people typically, because when motion detecting lights go off, people naturally are curious. And if we're noticing our lights going off in our backyard, around our home and property, etc., we will sit there and we will take notice and start to transact. And lastly, when we have alarms, they are loud, they are obnoxious, they're pains in the butt. Depending on the provider, they either work well or don't work at all. But they're also once more a deterrent, because that noise attracts attention. And the more attention that you attract, the less likely people are to take advantage of your personal property, your professional property, your situation. The same thing goes for IT. There is nothing foolproof in this world, but there are a number of precautions, steps, and ideas, theories, or principles that we can take advantage of so that we can protect ours to an extent that makes us less likely to become a victim, because it takes more time, effort, and circumstance to once more gain attraction or attention or the ability to access our information. So the broad strokes are, the more precautions we take, the more likely we are to be able to reduce or eliminate our opportunity of becoming a victim. With that, I'm going to open up the floor to start with to Jay. He's going to start with some very interesting information and the first layer or tools that we're going to want from an IT perspective and how you can protect yourself and your business and your family. Jay, to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mitch. Everybody can see my screen? Good. So my contribution today to the 5 tech tools is focusing around cybersecurity training and our breach prevention platform tool that leads into that. So really what we have to realize is that our staff and our teams are our biggest asset, and they're also our biggest risk. And so they are the people that are using your platforms and your systems to drive your business, and they are ultimately the targets. And so where we need to focus time and energy on, from my perspective and our contribution, is training those people to avoid these sorts of threats. So there's some common misconceptions around, why somebody would need or wouldn't need cybersecurity training for their staff. And we hear this all the time. We get, my employees are smarter than that. That's a big lie. My employees don't have time, another big lie. We are too small, probably the biggest lie. We don't have valuable data, that's up there as well. And one big misconception is we're covered if a breach happens. Now, we could have our entire different webinar around what cyber insurance covers. We won't get into that today. The whole purpose of our tool is to ensure that you have the training you need to avoid these sorts of threats. Now, and I just want to address the one misconception that, small businesses aren't at risk for breaches. They're probably the most at risk for breaches right now. That's the low-hanging fruit for the bad guys. If you really think about it, especially with this pivoting away from working in the office and having to work from home, they are sitting there, chopping at the bit, trying to take advantage of this kind of chaos that's happened. And so how do they do that? Well, really, they're social and engineered attacks, whether it's a phishing attack, spear phishing attack, impersonation. This is how they're going to infiltrate your business, and they're going to do it by getting to your team. So on average, 71% of breaches out there are in small business, and that's a space that all 3 of us providers here work in and have expertise in. So you need to take a layered security approach to ensuring that you shore up your security defense. And the number one step towards that non-system aspect of things is employee training and defense. So our company right now, as our kind of give back to the community, is offering at no cost, no commitment in terms of working with us, cybersecurity training for your company and your staff. And what this is, it's a 4-module video course that gives you the basics of how to spot probably 90% of the attacks that are coming in for small business out there. This will train your staff on how to find phishing attempts, how to spot things like ransomware, all the way down to how to check the headers on an email to make sure that it's not being spoofed. The next step is something that Shane will probably talk a little bit about, which is the actual systems themselves that protect you from said breaches. The third layer is the maintenance of those systems, where the 3 of us really spend a lot of our time and effort to ensure they're running top-notch to industry standards, properly patched. And the last layer is kind of that safety net of financial recovery if all of those systems fail and all of those layers are breached. Now, why employee security? Well, the reality of it is that 79% of IT providers reported that their clients were struck by some level of ransomware or were breached in the last 2 years. That's a phenomenal amount of companies if you think about that in the small space. Now, a lot of people are just paying the ransom because they don't have a proper IT provider, technology solutions provider, to help them navigate or shore up against these threats. So it's easier to just pay the $500 ransom and think you're fine. But if any of us have ever watched any sort of hostage-based movie before, you're not fine. They'll come back as many times as they can. There is no honor amongst thieves. So don't think that these people have a conscience. They do not. They don't care. They want your money. It's as simple as that. 66% of IT providers reported that phishing emails were the top ransomware delivery method. Well, you might say, I have a spam filter. Who cares? Everybody has a spam filter. If you use Office 365, you have a spam filter. It doesn't matter. The people that are executing these sorts of threats know how to bypass those, even the best ones. And so almost all of these companies lacked end user training. So being a little bit proactive and making sure your team has the necessary education to do this will stop you from getting these sorts of attacks. So what's the actual cost of a breach to your business? And, you know, a lot of these other things can add up, but what people don't realize is once you start executing your cyber policy, a lot of these things will be pushed upon you, but could be completely avoided. You know, let's not worry so much about the monetary aspect of things though. What about the hit to your reputation? The hit to your business's reputation could be what actually puts you out of business from a ransomware attack. If you're in the financial industry, if you're in healthcare, and it's known that you have to release when you've been breached, who's going to want to work with you, right? So there's an unintended cost and consequence to that. So basically, to start with, the first tool is our cybersecurity training platform. So very easily digestible cybersecurity tips, how to get end users to avoid falling for these sorts of tricks. So the first step, we'll always do a dark web scan to see if your company has been compromised on the dark web, and we'll give you that baseline security training for all of your staff at no cost. This positions your company to ensure that, hey, we understand the basics of phishing and malware and impersonation. We know that this email looks suspicious, so we're not going to click on it. And from there, you can start developing your own internal policies of how people within your business are supposed to use technology. The next tool that we're offering is our breach prevention platform, which basically builds on the training and the dark web scan and constantly engages your staff members by testing them with simulated phishing attacks. It's going to test and rate people that are clicking through emails that you send them. It's going to send them weekly micro training for things that are relevant in the news. So if there was a breach with Equifax, they would be getting an actual video around what happened and how they could avoid things like that or spot it moving forward. Some templates for how to shore up your security policies. If you have an HR consultant or anybody else, this really plays out nice with that. And then finally, a complete dashboard and measurement of how your staff are rating in terms of risk to your business. And so our breach prevention platform is literally a measurement tool for who's at risk within your business. We measure if they've taken their training. We measure, are they clicking through the simulated phishing attacks? Have they been compromised on the dark web? Are they taking the weekly relevant training courses? Are they reading the material? It gives them a score. And that score allows you as a business owner or the C-level to say, hey, this person is not getting it. They continue to click through the risky emails. They continue to fall for this. We have now identified internally who's a potential risk to our business. We can spend the time and effort to ensure we educate them up using cybersecurity training. Or you can use this as a tool within your business to basically gamify how well people take security within your business itself. So my two contributions today, cybersecurity training, like I mentioned, we're offering that complimentary to anybody who's interested, and our breach prevention platform, which is the measurement tool that combines the training and the ongoing engagement. Obviously, that's a paid engagement. If you're interested in that, reach out to me. But these two tech tools will help shore up your business's defenses and ensure that your team is educated and prepared and doesn't fall for what majority of the businesses are falling for right now. And that's it for me.
Jay, thank you very much. I've got a couple of questions right now from the floor. Ashley, go ahead.
Jay, just wondering how we get access to that cybersecurity training that you mentioned.
There's a link that I've sent out. I can even post it in the chat here, or I'll hit you up directly, but I do have it on LinkedIn as well. So there's a sign up form, and once you do, then I onboard you onto the system.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Feedback from the panel. Trevor, Shane, thoughts?
No, this is powerful information. The only thing that I could add to this is that, you know, this information is the key to the strongest lock you can provide your organization. Once they know what to look for, once they've seen it themselves, well, the numbers don't lie. 80% of your problems go away. I had a customer, this was a few weeks back. She was so afraid she unplugged her alarm clock thinking that it could be compromised too. It's real. It's out there. You don't think you have weak links? They're everywhere. Get them educated.
I like the addition of using it as a metric for your overall performance of your organization, seeing how healthy it is in terms of cybersecurity and ways to actually provide value back to your staff to make sure that they're protecting themselves as well as their business. That was a really good presentation, Jay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions and comments from our participants before we'll move on to our next expert? And make no mistake, you don't need to jump in if you don't want to, but if you do have a question, do not hesitate, because this is a great time to do it. Otherwise, all right, let's move along. Shane, you're up, brother.
Hey guys, so Jay touched on cybersecurity and a lot of the tools that go into it. Some of it is educate, a good portion of it is education, and really it comes down to making sure you have the most amount of tools available to you to help mitigate and almost eliminate the ability to be targeted. So my discussion today is going to be revolving around password manager and multi-factor authentication, otherwise known as MFA or 2FA. So I'm just going to get into this real quick. Just give me one quick sec to share this out. Cool. You guys can see that okay? All right. So one of the biggest tools that you can have both personally and professionally is password manager. Reason we're going to go in around the methods of password compromise, common password creation mistakes that a lot of people go through, even ones that are seasoned professionals in generating passwords, and why you actually should have a password manager. So at the end of the day, the weakest link for you is you. And if you can help shore up your defenses by having a strong password and making sure that password is protected in a secure way, then at the end of the day, you're ahead of the game for a lot of things that are going to be happening in and around your organization, in and around your life. We've all heard about breaches that have happened to large organizations, mega big companies. Mainly being, yeah, that's a really good link, by the way, Ben, that you just posted. Have I been pwned? The best way to understand how passwords are taken advantage of. One is called brute force. So basically they just hammer away at an account until it either gets locked out or they get in, one of the two. So if there's prevention policies in place to protect that password or to protect the amount of times you can attempt a login, that'll at least slow it down. This is one of the slowest ways to actually gain access to an account. So another way to do it is a dictionary attack. It's exactly as it sounds. They basically take all the words in a dictionary, slap it into a giant file, and test it against accounts, whether or not they have those account names like John Doe at mycompany.com, or they are just attempting a blind attack. That's also possible as well. Another way to do it is what's called a rainbow table. So basically what they've done is so a breach happens. They've sold your information on the dark web, and they've made sure that the information is for sale, essentially. Someone buys it up and they put it into a big text file, and they use applications to essentially just attack those accounts. Typically, they're against accounts that are already known. So for John Doe at mycompany.com or Jane Doe at mycompany.com, so on and so forth. A very common way for this to happen, though, and this is unfortunately where really getting that cybersecurity training is essential, is social engineering. Basically, someone posing as an IT person and walking into your business and saying, "Hey, I'm an IT guy. I need the password for this application. Can you help me with that? I sent it out, but I just need it." And basically through urgency and through a slip up in conversation, you let go of what that password is, or at least where it is, and that's the end of the game. The easiest way to break into a car is to have the keys, right? And there's also something called shoulder surfing. So basically just looking over your shoulder. Someone walks in posing as a courier driver, posing as skip the dishes, and they just happen to be peering over your shoulder as you type in a password or as you type in a PIN number. And again, that game is, you never even knew it happened. You didn't even have a conversation with that person. There's many other types of attacks, spear phishing, as Jay mentioned, guessing, spidering, offline cracking, and malware, all of those. So common mistakes in creating a password. Apparently that all got blanked out. That's okay. So I can do this without ever needing this template. But basically, common mistakes are using names, common names, common places like cities, states, provinces, so on and so forth. Using passwords you've used elsewhere. So if you use the same password of Facebook as you do as your bank account, as you do many other locations, and then that password has way less strength than if it was only used in one location. Another common mistake is utilizing like Batman, let me in, password 123, QWERTY, QAZ, WSX, so on and so forth. Those are, again, common keystrokes that are going to be plugged into that rainbow table. They're going to be tested against your account, and it's just going to compromise you. Another one is using weak passwords, using the bare minimum length of a password, saying 8 characters, uppercase letter, lowercase letter, and a number, or special character. That itself only takes a few seconds to crack. Really, there's only so many permutations that can happen. They'll either brute force it, or they'll use a rainbow table, or blah 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 blah. So many ways for that to be compromised. And there's a few other mistakes that can be made. Writing it down, leaving it in an open place, leaving it on a sticky note attached to your monitor. These are all mistakes that are common. People that have been creating passwords for a long time follow these simple little slip ups, or they write it down for just a short little period of time. It's been left on their desk. They walk away. Someone looks at it. These are things that you need to protect yourself from. So the reasons why you need a password manager. So really, it's a secure vault where all of your passwords are stored. This is a place where you can securely enter your information, such as your username and your password, and the website that it belongs to, and it's going to be unique and not used in more than one location. Another benefit of these password managers, whether it's a personal one or one provided by your company, is a random password generator. So it can take away the guesswork of creating a strong password. And it also creates it in a secure fashion, so it's stored in that vault, and again, just takes the guesswork right out of it. You can use the full length of that character limit that you've got, whether it's 128, doesn't matter. You can also essentially do a security checkup against your own user accounts. So inside that vault, you can actually do a test and see how many passwords are utilized for the one location. And you can go ahead and fix it. You're given a report and saying, hey, you're 98% secured. So you've got 2 accounts that are being used, or 2 passwords are being used on the same account. You probably should fix that. Device synchronization. So really, you can have your passwords available to you regardless of what device you're on, whether you're on an iPad, your iPhone or Android phone, your laptop. Basically, you have those at your fingertips, and it's stored in a secure way that you are essentially the only person that should be able to get access to that. And as mentioned before, it's a secure way to store your passwords. So with a vault secure behind a master password and multi-factor authentication, which I'm about to touch on, you should have almost no reason to not have access to those passwords, but making sure that nobody else has access to those passwords as well. So secondly, we're going to touch on multi-factor authentication, otherwise known as MFA or 2FA. Basically what it is, wow, this template just really did not like my iPad. So what is MFA? Basically, it is a security tool meant to create a second or third method of authentication, meaning that it's going to be something so a password or a PIN number. It's going to be something you have, so like a security fob or English, an authenticator available to you on your something that you are. Or Trevor, if you could mute your.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, good. Well, something that you are. So whether it's a voice print, a fingerprint, or even a retinal scan, depending on the business. So the MFA works, as I just mentioned, something you have, something you know, and something that you are. Generally speaking, when multi-factor authentication is implemented in your own personal life or in an organization, it's going to be 2 to 3 methods of multi-factor authentication. Generally, it's something you have and something you know. And you can secure it behind something you are. So usually it's a fingerprint from your mobile device or on your laptop, or it's a smart card that's available, that's provided by your IT organization. So the reasons why you actually need to have MFA, whether it's in your own life personally or in your organization, is it simplifies the security. So really, this tool can help integrate with single sign-on tools like Microsoft, G Suite, and many other applications that are available to you. Offers more protection. So with breaches happening more regularly and very regularly, whether it's in small business, enterprise, even in your own personal life, for websites such as, you name it, it doesn't really matter. Breaches are happening all the time. The way to secure yourself is with great strong passwords. There's security behind a great master password and multi-factor authentication. And really, it just helps create that cohesiveness in your organization, knowing that it might take a little bit longer for you to be able to get access to that application, but at the end of the day, you are protecting yourself as well as your business from being exposed to the outside world and its malicious nature. So MFA can actually save you money. A lot of people think it's expensive to implement and so on, but really, it's more expensive to make the mistake first than it is to actually implement it the first time. So the ways it can actually affect your business, the way it can actually affect you and cost you money is through business and sales and your own productivity, trying to recover from that. The trust in the brand, as JD mentioned, the disaster that it creates when your business is no longer trusted is just as dire as you lighting your own business on fire. And really, you're also exposing yourself to fines and lawsuits for data breaches. So from the government of Canada, from civil suits, so on and so forth. And even depending on your own industry, it can actually be a requirement by law. So this is one of the few reasons why you need MFA, why you should have a strong password, why you should actually leverage a password manager. And that's it from me. Thanks, guys.
Shane, it's Ashley. I just have a question for you.
Sure.
Would you recommend something like LastPass as a item that helps protect from these kinds of things and allows you to change up your passwords all the time?
Yeah, so there's actually a few good options out there. So for personal use, utilization of LastPass or even Dashlane are great options. They have both free and paid versions depending on what you're looking to achieve with it. Definitely look into them. I'm more than happy to chat with about it more afterwards. Pardon me.
Perfect, thanks.
No worries.
I have 2 cents to put into that. I found by just through demoing a lot of the free options, if you can afford the couple dollars a month for the paid version, it's typically the better route. You get the support, there's a bunch of other add-ons. So although free is nice right now, I would seriously consider, especially for personal use, because you're talking literally a couple bucks a month, like maybe $20 for the year. But some of the features and integrations that come with the paid versions are well worth that nominal amount of money.
Absolutely.
I always like to say, think of this like your house, right? You had somebody living in your basement, renting out a room. They leave. You change the locks. It costs $3. Do you really want to risk maybe having somebody show up? You don't know who else has a copy of the key, when they're going to come or go. Just take the hit. Do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Spend the money.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Shane, thank you for sharing. And we'll move along to Trevor. Now, before I do, I want to make it very clear. This is not just for the technologically savvy or the technically sophisticated. This is for everybody to use. It is a thing that we must all be very conscientious of. We'll go back to, and again, for those people that grew up in North America, we'll go back to that time in the 50s or 60s or 70s where people would naturally leave their doors unlocked, where they would leave their garages unlocked, where they would leave things and valuables out, where we all have parents and grandparents that would take their keys and hide them in the sun visor in the vehicle. And the smaller the community were, the more likely you would to do these kinds of things. And where my family comes from, and I mean my in-laws, they live in a small community with 30 other people in a dozen homes where everybody knows each other, where lifestyle means that for the first time ever, they're starting to question whether or not they lock their back door because new people have moved into the neighborhood. But until recently, as close to as a year ago, you would find their house completely unlocked most of the time, even when they would leave. This is the reality of the technology world we find ourselves in now, is that it is akin to leaving your door not just unlocked, but wide open. And you would not do this in most of our places. And if you live in a condo or an apartment building, et cetera, you would certainly not just leave your front door open entirely and walk out and head to work for an entire day. None of us would do that. Digitally, this is very much akin to that. It is like leaving your door open on your house or your garage door wide open and just driving away and leaving your house and your property exposed for an entire day. So this is something that we should all take very conscientiously and take the security of our own identity and our own finances and our family and our businesses very, very seriously. And with that, Trevor.
All right, thank you guys. We're going to get to sharing here. Let's see if I can pull that up. Hopefully you guys can take a look at that. Are you guys seeing my presentation?
Yep.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. So again, thank you. Welcome everybody for joining us today, and maybe future viewers as well. Again, my name is Trevor Banyu, a member of the Generational Electronics team. And I get to work with businesses, small and large, from a variety of industries. And we just ensure that their technological, operational needs are met. So today we've got our 5 topics, and we're just going to hop right into it. Why would you choose a managed service provider? You know, we've heard from the other technologists here today. They brought a couple of tools to this. What I'm offering is the whole toolbox. It makes life just a little bit easier. And, you know, as an MSP, a managed service provider, our goal is ultimately so much more than just ensuring that your communications, that your technology is up and running. What we really want to become is an advisor to your business. We want to make sure that you have a continuity plan in place, that you have disaster recovery. We want to make technology work for you and your businesses. So whether you're a business executive or an IT professional, using an organization like us makes your job easier. Simply put, a managed service provider is designed to handle the daily operation of your technological applications while focusing on immediate and future needs that your business may have as it grows. Partnering with a dedicated MSP allows for in-house IT professionals to focus more on the strategic needs of the business, while freeing up the team, the rest of your team, to focus on core competencies. So my counterparts are going to tell you, your business is your business. Mitch is a coach. I expect him to be the best coach. I don't expect him to be doing patching and cabling and setting up his home network or his business network. Otherwise, he's not going to be the best coach. So why are we going to choose to work with an MSP? The simple headers here are better cost control, improved risk management, which is what we've been talking about earlier now, efficiency and productivity, and future-proofing the IT services. So let's just, okay. So when you set up an IT department, when you have people working in that realm, you're going to be training them, which we talked about earlier. There's going to be equipment, not just the equipment that you're using, but the equipment that you need to service that equipment. Those types of things are actually absorbed by the MSP, and they're brought back to you as a monthly charge. So that's something that you can plan for. You know that X number of workstations is going to cost X number of dollars every month, and that's going to translate into X number of dollars at the end of the year that you can budget for. Overall, that has a real implication on your bottom line, because you no longer have this up and down of technology costs, but more one flat line that you can budget for. The biggest benefit is that you're going to be able to scale that. So again, getting rid of the ups and downs and saying, okay, we're bringing on 10 more people, we can spend a little bit more and bring it out. Improved risk management. Again, we don't expect everybody to be a knowledge in phishing scams, a knowledge in backup and recovery. We don't expect everybody to know everything, but it is our business. And so we do hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we make sure that we go out of our way to educate ourselves in those realms. So partnering with us lessens the burden on your own business to an extent, but we're going to work to educate you as well. And because of that, you're going to have efficiency and productivity, and that's where the ROI is going to come through. You're going to be able to see improvement in how you do things. You're going to receive training in specific software, as well as the hardware application. Okay. So ultimately, we're going to be a guide and a resource. We want to learn your business. We want to see how you do things. We're going to offer our input as to how it can maybe done a little bit better, a little bit more effective. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to make your environment safer. So I hope that that answers some of the questions. Again, my counterparts here are available to answer some of the more tech savvy things. Ultimately, we want to build a relationship. I hope that that maybe shed some light on what an MSP does and what it can do for your business.
Can I add a couple things to that, Trevor? Do you mind?
Absolutely.
I think just to put what Trevor's putting into context now, given what the world is going through right now, for the longest time in our industry, because there isn't truly a governing board for said IT companies, MSPs, you're finding these connections through either advertisements or relationships as it is. We're getting referred to companies. We have standards that we need to work within as well, because we need to ensure if we're going to work with you, you're willing to commit to putting in the necessary foundations to give us the tools we need to support you. And so to my point, for the longest time over the past 5 years, a lot of businesses in the small, medium business space looked at IT as just a cost center. It was just something that cost money because they didn't understand it. And lo and behold, we have a worldwide disaster. And guess what's one of the number one essential services right now? A managed service provider. So what I say to all of the companies out there and shining a light on my co-hosts here is that I guarantee you that we're all working remotely just fine. And so if you want some tips and tricks on how to leverage that, I would talk to one of the three of us. Doesn't matter the size of your business. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're a technology company, you should be utilizing the technology to run your business. We do that every day. So we're a wealth of knowledge to you. Just ask, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. Particularly now, if you're facing a business challenge that requires you to connect, modify, now is the time to have a discussion with one of us about that, because now is the time you can pivot. And so you don't really want to get involved with somebody at this stage who's just going to come in and swap out a hard drive or break fix the problem. You want somebody who's going to strategize with you, who's going to put a path forward, and who's going to follow you along that path, leading that way. And ultimately, that's what pulls all of us kind of out of this dark time. So it's a very exciting time to be one of these managed service providers right now, because sometimes, it takes a business to get pushed in that direction forcefully to realize that, hey, we need to do something about this. And lucky for them, we're here to help.
Absolutely.
To that point, and I probably should have done a little bit better in highlighting this, one reason to focus on working with an MSP now and into the future. First of all, the situation we're in, it's changed the world. Even 6 months after we're into recovery, I think we're going to see a lot more of this telecommunication, a lot more reliance on bandwidth, if you want to follow that lead. But the old model, the model that existed a decade ago, was that you knew a guy that knew a guy that knew something about computers, the break-fix model. Or you have somebody that's developing your website, somebody that's doing coding for programs in your business. They know something about IT, but it's not their primary role. And they've been pushed into an IT management role. That's not conducive to your long-term growth, because you're paying him to do one job and he's doing another job, and he's not going to be a professional at that. Okay. And then lastly, it's the relationship. Every one of us is going to tell you the same thing here in the panel: relationship, relationship, relationship. And I'm not going to hammer these guys to it, but I know in my business, we're not looking for break-fix customers, because it's not a healthy long-term relationship. How good of a job can I do for your business when I come in one time every 8 months, 9 months, a year, whenever you get the call, fix that one problem, and then I'm waiting for the next time for your stuff to break? The dynamics have changed with an MSP provider. You pay me one flat rate every month, every workstation, however it has to happen. But I guarantee, and my other cohorts here will put it the same way, we are infinitely more invested in getting the job done, not just right, but also with the long-term solution in mind, because we don't want to have to come back. There's no benefit in us coming back. So we're going to do it the best way that we can the very first time. And if that means recommending a solution that maybe it costs a little bit more, or is a solution that you'll grow into in the next year to 2 years, it's more beneficial for your business. And we're partnering with you. That word isn't just a catchphrase. We are literally partnering with your business to become your IT office manager, consultant. You really do need to think of us as a staff member, because we're going to sit down with you quarterly, semi-annually, and put together that IT plan for your business. Just like when you're looking at your personnel, are we going to need more bodies next month, next year? Are we going to need more workstations? Are we going to need a bigger server? When is the end of life? Just like any fleet management that you're going to take care of.
Well
Shane,
said, Trevor.
anything to chime in? Jay?
Yeah, I can add on to that just a little bit. So a lot of the time you've got this guy that knows IT, and maybe he's actually quite competent at it, but at the end of the day, he has only 24 hours in a day. He only has so much capacity. A managed services provider is out there to make sure that we have capacity to support you in anything that you have going on in your technology. So whether you have your internal IT person that takes care of the majority of the work and wants to offload some of it so we can focus on projects, or you have some projects that need to be taken care of and just doesn't have the capacity or the know-how or the just the ability to be able to take care of it in a timely fashion, managed service providers are there to take care of that for you as well. We help plan for the future, we help plan for today and tomorrow, and we help take care of what happened yesterday as well. So that's why we're here. We want to make sure that you as a business succeed. We are skillful and knowledgeable about the tools that you're using, and we want to, go arm in arm and make sure that everybody in this marketplace is actually healthy and thriving. So that's why we want to work with you.
For the audience with us now, and for those that will get an opportunity to enjoy this webinar in the future, MSP is an important distinction for the reality of small to medium business now. Managed service providers are, in this context, technology providers as well. But for many small to medium businesses, the reality of being able to afford to maintain IT or IT services internally, their own marketing department, their own human resources department, is rapidly coming to a close. Most businesses are looking to divest or move away from making a direct cost analysis or a direct investment in a dedicated full-time person who will handle their technology needs, that will handle their people capital, their human resources needs, that will handle their marketing needs. Businesses are starting to dial down further and further and further, where the smaller the company, the less specialized people are, the more multi-hat units. And so you'll see sales people doing installations. You will see operations people helping with frontline customer service. You'll see primary managers, leaders, or business owners handling everything from hiring and onboarding straight through to the marketing cycle, sales cycle, etc. So the more of these services as well, managed service providers, is about providing an outside service that has a cost certainty and a cost base. It makes it more affordable to have the same protection, same leverage point that we're going to get from an internal resource. But as Shane just alluded to as well, is that person has a finite shelf. They have vacation time, downtime, sick time, time away from the family. In the instance we're at right now, even in an IT world, we can still have people that can be away taking care of families, etc., because of the crises that we're facing with a worldwide pandemic. So the ability to leverage those resources that are quintessential and essential for businesses just to operate now, technology-based, human capital-based, marketing or sales-based, for example, has to come from outside of the business in the traditional role that we would enjoy previously, and must be looked at in another place. So to have somebody now in the form of a company that can be many times more effective and less costly than having an individual inside your business, and yet can respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is vital when we look at the level of threat that our own personal and our professional finances, businesses, and information can face as well. So that's something for us to bear in mind as we move our businesses forward. That these things have become essential and vital. They must be protected, but they do not require that extensive spend that we would do from a traditional perspective. And now we need to be more innovative in finding approaches that are going to satisfy our needs and the security that our businesses have.
Add to that, I try to coach people who aren't very technical and look at it this way. Look at us like a utility. Okay, it's not to dilute the value and all the expertise, but just look at it this way. When you get your gas from ACO, You pay a monthly bill. You know what the units are per month. You never question ATCO, how the gas came out of the well, how it got processed, how it came to your business, how it lights up in your furnace. You pay the bill and you've got heat in your building. That's simplistic aspect of how we do things, but we're part of that utility structure now for any business, right? Just as important as a proper internet connection, just as important as having a lawyer, an accountant, or anything else, that utility aspect, when you're looking at the cost of running your business, build in the cost of IT through a managed service provider. Know what your per user cost is, because eventually if you're going to pivot and utilize technology as your competitive advantage, you need to know that anyways. And once you have that, you realize, hey, that's my run cost per employee to have the tech stack or the MSP working with me. And because of that, I get all of this value. And so if we're going to layer on this technology, or we're going to go after this much more business, this is how we scale that out, knowing right from the beginning that's our cost. And so I think a lot of times companies fear technology because A, they don't understand it, and B, it all has a cost associated with it. But they need to change that view to how they can leverage that cost to actually make the money. And streamlining your organization and working with a managed services provider will get you there. You're trying to do it all yourself, you might think you're saving money, but I'll tell you what, probably everybody on this call realizes that if somebody else is doing it full time and that's what they do, I'd rather partner with them and have them do the heavy lifting and protect me so I could focus on growing my business. And that's truly where we can provide a lot of value.
Yeah.
Questions or comments from our participants and guests today? Any thoughts or ideas? Jay, if you can offer up a short summary and some final thoughts, I'll go through the rest of our panel for today. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. And we hope that you found it incredibly informative and that you're going to take away something that's going to help you. Jay, if somebody had to start in one spot from a technology side and they are, let's say, a solopreneur, what would be the very first thing or the very first piece of advice you would provide so that they can get the kind of coverage or protection they should have?
From a security standpoint, I would totally focus on education. I know it's a bit self-serving because we're offering that right now, but understand where the threats are coming from because you're still a target. From actual, business growth and going that, understand how you make your money and what tools or systems you use to do that, because ultimately that's what you're going to hit the ground running with. And talk to people like Shane, Trevor, and myself about that platform or that system, because chances are the three of us have worked with an amazing amount of clients, that whole base. And if you're trying to solve a problem, we've guaranteed we've solved it already for you. So align yourself with an MSP, educate yourself on the threats out there, stay safe.
Shane, I'm going to get you to chime in here a moment. As businesses are growing and they're adding people capital into their business and business starts to become more complex, what's going to be that next layer they're going to have to be mindful of?
Asking me. Cool. So as they're adding complexity to their environment, when you're looking at software, when you're looking at solutions and hardware and things like that, understanding your per device costing or your per staff costing is quite important. It allows for scalability, but it also allows for the ability to be able to plan for the future. So beyond knowing what your cost is going to be, you also know what your cycle is going to look like as well. So with hardware, we have what's called an evergreen solution in place, where we will actually help you identify the assets you have in place and also what their life expectancy is going to be, whether that's a 3-year cycle or a 5-year cycle or an 8-year cycle, whatever that works out to be. We're here to help you understand the cost that comes with IT. Yes, there is a cost that comes with it. We can't help or we can't stop that from happening, but we can help guide the conversation where you actually get that return on investment and you get the real ability to leverage that technology to its best use.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Now, Trevor, we're on to you, and then I'm going to get all three of you to offer up one last thought here as a panel as well. We're looking at businesses that are starting to scale, they're capitalizing, and they're really looking at growing, or we're looking at new threats emerging right now. What is going to be 12 to 18 months from now? What should people be mindful of so that over the next year or so, their technology is going to keep pace? Because as we know, and once again, I'm going to wave it into the view for a moment, you know, we got this guy here. This changes every 12 months. In fact, 2 versions rolled out of this phone here in the last 6 months. So what should we be mindful for over the next 12 to 18 months?
So I think you've just really hit the nail on the head. You know, yeah, the phones are updating rather quickly, but so are your server components. So is your printer. There's a plethora of back-end devices. And this is maybe the one big discussion I have quite regularly with people that I'm interviewing. It's like everybody works inside of the box. They work with the keyboard and the mouse and the monitor. The MSPs here, we work outside of the box. Everything where those cables go back to, in the back room, in the tech closet, but that stuff all needs to be updated. That somebody has to be there to update the software, to physically update the device. There are those components, and they will expire in the next year, 2 years, 6 months. And the moment that they expire and you don't replace or upgrade the software, you've left the door open. So if you're doing all the right things by having an antivirus and you're educated with the phishing and all those other things, it's like locking the shutters and the windows of the front of the house, but leaving the back door wide open. And so, again, every MSP here is going to tell you, we don't expect you to know absolutely everything about it, but do get educated and then be aware and then realize, like, you know, if you had a fleet of vehicles, you wouldn't be out there doing all the oil changes yourself or doing all the brakes yourself. You'd hire it out. That's exactly the service we're providing for your tech. And your tech is just one component that makes up the whole backbone of your business. And so what to be mindful? Well, you know, the threats are coming from people, and they're very, very creative. HP put out a report just a few weeks ago saying that the biggest threat they're seeing coming on the horizon is your wireless printer, that the wireless settings haven't been turned off and that they're gaining access to your network. And again, it's all that stuff in the back room that nobody's thinking about because it's not in front of you. It's not the keyboard. It's not going to pop up in front of you. And maybe to finish that off, I'd say that we've seen a dynamic shift in what does a compromised system look like in the 90s versus today. It's no longer the ability to stop your computer from working or to stop you from doing things outside of ransomware. It's, you know, a successful hack today means that you don't know what ever happened. It's sitting in the background, quietly collecting your keystrokes, quietly collecting email information. They don't want your business to be disrupted. They don't want your computer to be slowed down. They want you to run business as usual, because the longer they go undetected, the more information and the more valuable things are going to happen. A dark web scan, great place to go and get started. But you'll be surprised when you find out that your email from 3 years ago showed up there and the password that's associated with it, and that it's being used somewhere else, right? You're going to be like, hey, I didn't have an account signed up with that. Well, somebody did it. So just be vigilant, and you'll see my posts in regards to that. That's what it is. Be vigilant. Work with an MSP.
Absolutely.
And there are solutions out there. There are so many solutions available to you, and you don't even know that there are options. My business, for instance, offers hardware as a solution. So you get the laptop, you get the MSP technology training, and you get it all for one monthly fee. And if your team scales up to 100, great, we'll provide you with more devices. If it scales down, we'll take those devices back. There are so many options available that work inside the confinements that you have.
Trevor, thank you very much. Shane, Trevor, and Jay, you guys have shared a great amount of information, of course. Some of it can be coming very, very quickly. What stands out to me, and it's something that, once again, not an IT or a technology expert, but certainly answering some basic information questions. If I pick this guy up and I wave it around in the air for a moment, I know that this phone is already 2 generations back from what is currently on the market. And where we go, this phone's going to last for a while. Well, you go 3 generations back. In other words, the phone that came out just 4 months before this one hit the market, that phone is already stopping being serviced by its major provider, by its builder. And so we think that these devices are keeping pace. Cell phone technology, for example, shifts generationally, what is it, every 6 to 8 months now? So the sophistication and the level of upgrade technology information means that we have to just learn how to make the device work, never mind to be able to protect the latest and the greatest. But as the devices get older, the amount of protection that we would expect from a provider like, let's say, Samsung or Apple starts to degrade as they move on to their next generation of devices, and the vulnerabilities become broader and broader and more available for people to take advantage of. And therefore, it leaves you exposed simply because you just have an older phone and you haven't thought about upgrading it to keep pace with whatever the latest shiny piece of kit is. And heck, you can buy the phones in Walmart. You don't even have to go anywhere else. You can pick up a brand new phone in Walmart these days. So technology has moved so far that while you are buying rubber boots for your kids and groceries for your family, you can also upgrade your cell phone, which is both frightening and innovative at the same time. And so that means that all of us are subject to or at risk at any given time for this. For my panel today, Jay, Shane, and Trevor, thank you for sharing your expertise. For those that came and joined in, and those that will see the webinar coming in the weeks and months ahead as we get it out and allow more people to come and share it with this information, do not hesitate to ask questions. We tried to condense it to the most essential and most vital pieces of information where you need to start, but it can also seem overwhelming. So these people are available, Jay, Shane, Trevor, to answer your questions, and the businesses that they work for severally are able to help your business and yourself personally moving forward into the future from this moment to then, to provide security, advice, suggestions, and to be able to protect what is far more valuable than even money is these days, your information, because that alone has monetary value. It has credit and stretch. And as we know, reputation and even our access and ability to communicate with people through social media can be both a weapon and a benefit. And this is something that we need to watch for and guard in the future. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Panel, thank you for your expertise. Anybody that has anything else, Ben's just posted one up. Shane, what's your website link as well? Let's make sure we get that in there real quick. I will leave the channel open for about another 2 minutes. Questions to be answered, links to be copied and pasted away from there. And again, watch in the coming weeks for this webinar to relaunch. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.